Here we are. Hello everyone. Come on in, one and all. You're a touch far away. Get over here. Welcome. Come into class. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. It's a pleasure to be here again, isn't it? Hi. Hello. So professional. I know. It's been a moment, but it's lovely to see you all. It's lovely to see you. Professor 𝓂𝓼𝓽 is here now. Let me tweak my glasses a little bit. There we go. Much better. There we go. Glasses have been tweaked and I feel phenomenal. Phenomenal. There we go. There we are. Well, welcome. Come on in. Good to see you. I hope you're all doing wonderfully. I'm back from my 1 day break and it's all good. It's all well. I hope that you all had a chance to rest while I was gone. You all looked after yourselves. You all took the chance to simmer down a little bit. No, I don't like the glasses there. I want them there. Better. There we go. There we go. Much better. Okay, so I hope that you all had the chance to rest. You all had the chance to get ready for this class and took the time to really just prepare, cope without me. I hope it wasn't too bad while I was gone, that you took the time to recuperate. I know some of you needed it after that members only ASMR stream. I know some of you absolutely desired it, but it's good to be back. It feels right to be back. The grind doesn't stop. No, it doesn't. Not in the slightest. Give me just one moment. I'm just setting up the last few bits of my slides. You know how it is. Have to stitch the class together before we can get teaching properly. How are you all doing? You're a bed burrito. Oh, you're a bed burrito. Very nice. The bed burrito, being a bed burrito is something I feel like I need. I haven't taken like a full sleepy time for a little while, but it doesn't. Oh, Kiwi, thank you for the super. Professor Zanny teaches how to give the heebie-jeebies. I intend to. I very much intend to. I hope I can. Oh, and of course, let me just bring back the little. Here we go. Let me just bring back this. There we are. And of course, the outline. There we go. Now I can see you all properly. There we are. I've had enough of not being able to see you all. All right, come on, you little monsters. Come on. There we are. Come on, you little monsters. Class is now in session. Get over here. We're going over to one of the classrooms. We're going over to the classroom now. All right, get your notepads, get your pens, get your whatever you need. Okay, class is about to be in session. Get over. Your actions are being monitored. Potentially. Now, today, before we get started, we're going to be writing a genre that's rather close to my heart. Horror. Now, and remember, if horror is not necessarily your thing, or it's not quite an area that you're interested in writing, just know that the skills you pick up from learning how to write, or some of the key points in one genre, allow you to blend and combine those points into different other different points of your writing to add variety to what you do. So, it's never necessarily about one genre, it's about what you learn from all of them that gives you a little bit of a benefit, okay? It's always about the collective rather than just like one bit or another. Oh, nah. Thank you for the super. I'm sick but have the day off from work. Prof, can I take my meds and eat during class? I could miss this stream. It's all good. Get cozy. And 𝓂𝓸𝓾𝓻, morning Zanny. Let's go. It's good to see you all. I'm still fixing my glasses. I'm still tweaking them. There we are. Okay, I'm not going to tweak my glasses anymore. Tweak my glasses anymore. But they're going there. Exactly. Okay. I hope you're all ready. Because this is one that I took a little bit of extra time to prepare. I had to be a little bit more careful going into it. And remember that it's not about one thing or another. It's about blending stuff together. Oh, Barry, thank you for the super. Ready to be dazzled again by your wisdom, sensei. Why, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. I really do. Obviously, take whatever you need from these classes. If there's one thing that you're able to take away from it, then I've done my job. And if you can't take anything away from it, then I've not done my job. So, yes, those words. Just do your thing. There we go. My glasses are finally pinned. There we go. My glasses are finally pinned. All right. All right, with that in mind, let's begin. Let's begin, everyone, shall we? Horror 101. How to write horror like a pro. You know the classic horror writers, Mary Shelley, Stephen King, all of the individuals that have created, Dean Koontz, the individuals that have created a variety of different and engaging horror worlds that have been brought to both film, television, and of course novel form. It's a classic, it's a way that things have gone. Oh, Wes, thank you for the super. Being and out of the stream, got something confidential that I need to plan out. Oh, sounds sneaky, sounds curious. All good, all good. And of course for those watching the VOD, because I know that you're out there watching the VOD, I know that you're a VOD watcher right now, okay? Remember to reference back the Writing 101 stream throughout this, because I will be calling back to that stream as I do with all of my horror and stylistic streams about writing. We use that one, that's our base. Got to know how to write before you can add a style to it. So, with that in mind, here we go. Horror 101, how to write like a pro, make the page your victim. As you can see there, that's my thing. That's my thing. Make the page for your victim. So, with that, as always, as we always start off, why should we listen to this guy? This guy right here. Do you see him? Do you see this guy? Why should we listen to him? This random incubi on the internet. Oh, Hanini, thank you for the super. Have fun teaching, Professor Zanny. I have to go since I have other classes to attend right now. Well, your teachers aren't as good as me, but I guess you have to humor them. But thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll write you a hall pass for when you go. I don't have my paper on me. Where's my paper? Somewhere here. It's somewhere. Anyway. All right. He's our smart and sexy Incubus professor. 25k subs and I'll do a professor ASMR. But why should we listen to this guy? Why? Well, I've written and directed plays in both London and Barcelona. I have a degree in writing and directing, or an area related to writing and directing, as well as having a large amount of practical experience. On top of that, I was a child actor, now Incubus adult, and finally, I spent some time with the Latin Academy while I was in Barcelona, studying about plays, writing, and of course, I was privileged enough to get to spend some time studying under one of the Sundance Film Festival judges. So, with that in mind, okay, with that in mind, I've got some stuff that I've learned that I feel like I can impart to all of you. Writing and creation have always been a passion of mine, a passion. So why not turn around and share? So with that next bit of the slide. Whoop. What is horror? What is horror? It's a good question. Okay, what is horror? And also, in case you guys noticed, at the top of each of these pages, I'm going to be adding a little quote or a caption from one of my favorite horror movies. This one is "I'll Make Things Right," and that's from Pet Sematary. But what is horror? Fundamentally, horror is invoking fear, dread, and unease in your given audience through tone, atmosphere, and action. Now, that means that, and yes, totally, also, in the class back there, you, the one talking about VTM, this can be used for anything. It's not just writing books or plays or films. You can use this for writing your D&D campaigns. You can turn around and use it for writing short stories. You can use it for, I don't know, scaring your younger siblings and making sure you terrify them correctly before bed. You know, you can do it for anything. But fundamentally, when it comes to horror, you need to not just think about the narrative, you need to think about the atmosphere and the tone. Why? Because the tone and the atmosphere are a living entity in and of itself. That is because of the fact that there needs to be a living, breathing thing that influences the world around it. So when you're talking about an environment, you need to not just make the villain, the enemy, the thing hunting your character, the thing that causes the horror, to be antagonistic to your audience, because good horror is antagonistic to the audience as well as the characters. The atmosphere, the world around you, the very air that permeates the lungs of the characters that you go on to write, needs to feel hostile to them. It needs to feel as if it is waiting to pounce and attack. And that is something that I adore. Now, other genres can always incorporate elements of horror, but horror itself always has the same base ingredients, as I just said, invoking fear through dread, unease, and also via tone and atmosphere. It is not just the actions of bad things or the creature lurking in the darkness that make people uncomfortable. How many times have we seen the classic horror fake out, where, you know, the innocent young lady is in the bathroom and there's something behind the shower curtain and she pulls it back after a moment of trepidation and there's nothing there? How many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen that? The villain or the creature, the entity that's hunting, does not do anything in that scenario. In that scenario, it is the atmosphere itself that does that, you know? And obviously that atmosphere is paid heed to by camera angles, writing, word choice, and of course a narrative or musical score that goes with it. Now, when we're talking about yes, black and white horror films. Black and white horror films are also very good with this. In fact, I would say black and white horror films are a very good starting point because they teach essentially the basics of where the genre comes from. And when we talk about word choice now, just to hammer that home, 70%, I would dare say, 75% of writing horror is word choice and description. Word choice and description. So please, I'm begging you, reference the Back to Writing 101 for word choices. Okay, if that's your thing, word choices are so important. Sentence structure, word choices, it's there. It's so much down to those specific instances where it's all about saying. And again, just to give an example, you know, I believe I had it in the first version where it was, you know, just running through the woods or panically staggering through the woods are so different in terms of both narrative feel and sensation that when push comes to shove, one invokes a visceral feeling within your audience. The other you talk about on a Sunday morning, oh, I went for a run in the woods, or I panicked and staggered through the woods, feeling as if the trees themselves were enclosing on me. See? You see? It's a big difference, and it does go a long way. It does go a really, really long way. I promise. I promise. But with that in mind, now we know that what actually is horror. We can move to our next slide. Our next slide being, okay, the key features of horror. Now, the key features are the things you build off of to create your story. And this can be done with any story itself. You know, these are any elements that you wish to add into a pre-existing story you might have. So if you wanted to add some tension, if you wanted to add a little bit of drama, if you wanted to add in that element of fear, you can use any of these in order to add that, right? Is that any more interesting than my teacher? Damn straight. Damn straight. Yeah. But the supernatural. The supernatural. Now we're going to take a moment and we're going to go slowly through these points, okay? One by one by one. Each of these 3 points. We're going to go very slowly through them and we're going to explore why each of them are as important as the next. The key features of horror. The supernatural. Now, the supernatural, fear carved into the human psyche since the beginning of time. Human ancestors, not mine, but yours, always had to explain the unknown because fear is linked to hatred, fear is linked to anxiety, and by putting a name and a face to something, we try and control its power over us, you know? So by thinking about that, by talking about that, the supernatural is a way to add an unknown element. Think of entities beyond our understanding, creatures that would not turn around and behave via conventional means, things that by all definitions shouldn't exist. The supernatural is a way that humanity in the past has been able to label things they don't understand, and by labeling it, they lose somewhat of its power over them. But in reality, it just created a single umbrella term for us to be able to exploit to scare people. Now, it is wonderful, wonderful when this can be exploited, right? However, the supernatural can fall flat at times if it's done in a campy or poor way. There is a TV show by the same name, which for as many victories as it has had, it's had flat moments. Lower this a little bit. There we go. So for as many victories as Supernatural has had, it's had some flat moments, has it not? Moments where it's turned around and not quite made it. Listen, I'm going there. Okay, every narrative will have wins and losses. But the best thing to do is to focus on, the losses and take them into account when you're measuring the wins. Why? Because that's the only way you get better. That's the only way you can learn from other people's work. So, even someone's coming in late. Where's your hall pass? Where's your hall pass? Let me see your hall pass. But yes. The supernatural is something that, although is easy to make use of, is very easy to fall flat upon. And although it is a lovely tool, I use it a lot personally, it needs to be done within certain rules. My big, I would dare say, hammer home, and although this is slightly tangential, I'm willing to go there, my big thing that makes me drive my fucking horns into a wall time after time after time after time after time, okay? The thing that makes me drive my fucking horns into the wall is magic systems with no consequence. Okay? It's easy to have a magic system that goes bippity boppity boo, everything's gone away, or the demon goes rah and bad things happen. Okay? However, everything should have to have a consequence when you are playing with horror in the terms of supernatural. Okay? There should always be direct consequence, and it should always be worse than the result or equal to it. Okay? The bane should always be equal to the boon. Can say that with me now, class. The bane should always be equal to the boon. Okay? Whatever is gained, you should lose an equal amount. Okay? Whatever is lost, there should always be some gain. It's there. And we see it in horror often as well, where, to use American Horror Story as an example, as a good example, actually, it would be in Murder House, where What's-Her-Face throws the wooden stuff into the fire and says, 𝓂𝓸𝓾𝓻, and all the spirits are meant to go away now. And what happens? The two lovely gay men turn around and go, honey, did you actually think that would work? But exactly, it's turning around and saying, heck, the magic system doesn't work, okay? And I'm even actually going to I'm going to say American Horror Story is a perfect example of both a system that does it exceedingly well and exceedingly poorly depending on the seasons. Coven, brilliant writing, poor execution of magic system. Murder House, brilliant writing, good execution of magic system. But the problem is that by having too much of a good, easy workaround for both the villain and also the hero, it takes the teeth out of the villain, makes them seem less clawed and desperate, and it takes the teeth out of the heroes. So my whole thing is that if you are playing with magic when writing horror, do it well. Take the magic system to one side. Take any of the supernatural to one side. Just put it in a corner. Put it in a corner. Okay. Put it in a corner and work well. Do we know? Do we know? Good. Thank you. I see individuals turning around and making notes of this. I'm very proud of you. You're a good little Netherling. There you go. Good Netherling. Wonderful. Next. Atmosphere. Darkness, dread, and isolation. Atmospheric description is your weapon. Now, I touched upon this earlier. The world itself should feel hostile to your audience and your reader. When I say that, okay, I'm talking about inanimate objects causing jump scares. I'm talking about people feeling the oppressive nature of the world around them, because the world humans live in is fundamentally oppressive. You're not smiling. You should smile with that. But think about it. Apartment buildings with long, stretching, claustrophobic corridors that seem to almost breathe in on you as you walk. Dark, flickering lights in elevators that make it seem as if the entirety of the world is being slowly constricted around you. High-rise buildings casting dark shadows with narrow back streets that feel as if the world itself snakes and twists and turns from the alleyways. It's beautiful. Cobblestone streets stained with blood. How can we not turn around and look at anything in the human world and not see that there is some capacity for a paranoia-inducing atmosphere? It's beautiful, baby. It's beautiful. Why? Because modern architecture is pain. So, with that in mind, take the world, add a dark spin on it. I would say a wonderful example of this, if you are into video games, would be Alan Wake 2 and 1. Both are fantastic examples, but 2 for the relevancy. I should get Alan Wake 2 poems. So, but. Alan Wake is a fantastic example, okay, of a world which is fundamentally hostile and built to constrict both the audience and those participating in it, right? It's wonderful. But do you like loop places horror games? So loops are very interesting as well. Loops are something I wasn't going to touch on that. However, I'll finish this slide and I will actually bring in Twisted Realities to, Ew, that was an AI art ad? Ew. Get the fuck off my video. Get the fuck off my stream. Disgusting. Alright, so, yeah, we will go into reality bending in a moment. We will go into reality bending at the end of this slide, okay? We will. Because I wasn't going to touch on that, but now you've said it, I do need to incorporate it. However, atmosphere is going to be your weapon. The use of descriptive words are going to be key in creating this. We're going to talk about how the world itself, if you listen to the little ramble I went on earlier, the constricting, stifling streets went and began to feel as if they were closing in on me, you know? These turns of phrase are what encourages feelings of claustrophobia, what make your audience turn around and feel as if their lungs are growing tight, that the world itself is beginning to enclose and encroach upon their very space, that the place that they exist in is a place not just of wonder, but of horror as well, where depravity and darkness mix within the modeling mundanity of their lives. That's what we're going for. And of course, tension and suspense. The final point. Nothing is better than waiting for the hammer to fall. By that I mean having a moment to wait, having that moment where the shower curtain isn't quite pulled back, where the barn doors aren't quite opening, where the protagonist looks out the window because they heard a noise and all they see is their own reflection. The tension and the suspense. You see it commonly. You see it commonly in thriller movies. I would dare say The Woman in Black is a perfect example, both in terms of film and novel. However, this is just one of many, many great examples. Now, having your audience suffer with your protagonist, because they deserve it. Your audience deserves it. Never forget your audience deserves to suffer with your protagonist, right? Never forget that. Never forget that. You want your, as a writer, you want your audience to suffer. Have them suffer, right? But Have them wait. Think about what you could do to have their breath catch in their throat. Anything that you do, anything that you say, and even those who are of a DM, who are preparing this for a TTRPG of some sort, you know, it's not just in the words you say or the atmosphere you present, but the presentation of it, right? It's the presentation of it where you turn around and you begin to slow your speech slightly. It becomes slightly sing-song. It draws them in, and you get a little bit quieter and a little bit tighter, and then as the moment begins to lull, when they look out and see that there's nothing outside the window, nothing but their reflection, it's all simply the night air. It's all in their head, it's all but a bad thought, it's all suddenly snap! And that's when you get your audience. That's how you do it. Okay? That's how you make it work. Exactly. Wonderful. I hope that did something for you. See? The chat gets it now. See? I hope that was a lesson for you. I hope that was a lesson for you. Right, next slide. Actually, we're going to talk about looping horror very quickly. Very, very, very quickly. Very, very quickly, right? Very, very quickly. Looping horror. Distortion of reality is always a really good move, right? This is... Distortion of reality is always a very, very good move, okay? It's a genre in and of itself. I will touch on that later on, but make sure if you are bending reality, that plays into both supernatural atmosphere and tension of suspense. It's a good way to do it. It's a careful balance you have to achieve to make it not be campy, but PT is a perfect example. Obviously, I would dare say that anything Guillermo del Toro based is a good example of distortion of reality. Maybe not necessarily in a looping setting like PT, because obviously both Norman Reedus and Hideo Kojima had a huge part in that, but definitely we will touch on that in a little bit. Going to fight the teacher? Try me. Try me. Can we slap the teacher for this? Damn it, Zadio is having a nap. I'm sorry. However, I feel like what I just did was a very, very good example of drawing people in and then having the drop happen, okay? It's not just one way or another. And if you jumped, then heck, you've learned something, all right? If you've jumped, you've learned something. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Indeed, PT was crazy. Indeed, Ambrose, it was. So that works rather heavily. Now, making sure you're paying attention. Exactly, okay? Don't be like me in my Polish classes checking Twitter while the teacher's turning around and going, co to jest? Like, no, don't be like me. Be good students. And with that... We make up horrors to help us cope with the real ones. Stephen King. Aspects of psychological horror. Now, we have to remember, there is somewhat of a divide between traditional horror and psychological horror. Very minorly, however, the differences are often, as we looked at before on the previous slide, where it is supernatural atmosphere and tension suspense, psychological horror includes some additional or perhaps trades out certain elements, right? So, with that, we have the exploration of taboos. Now, sexuality, physicality, actions taught to be morally reprehensible. I dare say Midsommar is a perfect example of this, okay? There is always elements of, and I've noticed this more and more as I've gotten older, okay? There are always elements of sexuality in psychological horror now. Okay, almost always. So, with that in mind, it's almost take all of the things that people tend to shy away from in society. That people go, oh, can we say that in decent company? Can we do that? Can I say that off off of the internet, and feel free to begin to gently blend those in, okay? There's always a weird blend that can be had to make people feel uncomfortable. Because with psychological horror, you don't want to have people feeling terrified, you want to have people feeling uncomfortable, okay? Mother, good example. It's all about feeling uncomfortable. You know, there are many different I'm trying to find the way to put this and stay monetized. There are many variations of, and this isn't an invitation to talk about it, chat. There are many variations of sexuality, physicality, and actions taught to be morally reprehensible in society that we do not talk about, and that's not an invitation to talk in chat, where it makes people feel uncomfortable because the world is inherently very vanilla. So, by incorporating those elements subtly, we're able to turn around and make people uncomfortable, all right? We're able to turn around and make people feel unsafe. And when I say physicality as well, we can begin to gently brush into body horror, but going too deep into it creates its own genre. Body horror as itself is its own genre. But if you understand what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying with that, all right? We can get a little bit wild on that. We can get a little bit like an AO3 tag if we need to. With the follow up, psychological fear. Okay, psychological fear. Panic and anxiety, paranoia, insanity, and the breakdown of reality. The body horror, The Fly, correct. Have a gold star. Meh. There you go. Have a meh. There. Have a gold star. Whoever recognized The Fly as body horror, there you are. You get a gold star. That's actually one of the progenitors, if not the progenitor, of body horror. It is a very good work noticing that. You got a gold star. It's stuck on your forehead now. Carry that with pride. But psychological horror, right? Psychological horror is a great example, or psychological fear, I should say, is a great example. Whether or not you're able to incorporate this is a matter of pacing and time. However, having your protagonist begin to lose their mind a little bit, okay? I think Invisible is probably a really good example as well. The Invisible Man, the one with the lady being stalked by her ex-boyfriend who's not dead. And is being convinced she's crazy, and she kind of begins to convince herself she's crazy. That's a great one. Obviously, there are several dozen examples in recent years of psychological fear where you have your protagonist beginning to convince themselves, maybe I am insane, maybe I'm crazy, maybe this isn't me. And having your characters be gaslit, yes, good word, gaslit. Gaslight your characters. Gaslight your characters. Gaslighting your characters is a key part of psychological fear and horror, because if you can't trust what you see, if you can't trust what you hear, if you can't trust what you know, then heck, that's scary in and of itself. Imagine if you just woke up one morning and your room was completely different. Imagine if you woke up one morning and the room that you were used to was a different color, painted completely different. Your wardrobe was in a different place. Your table was somewhere else. Your entire room was just completely rearranged, right? Imagine you did that, and you go to the next room. You go, and you ask your parents, and you go, what happened to my room while I was sleeping? And they say, what? And you bring them in and you go, well, you're like, oh, why was my room was white before, but now it's been painted yellow? And they go, no, it was always yellow. Well, what about my desk? My desk used to be by the window, now it's by the wall. And it's like, they go, no, your desk was always by the wall. Well, then what about my bed? My bed was lengthwise, and now it's width. It's widthwise. It's positioned in the corner. They go, no, it's always always been like that. You're incorrect. Are you okay? You're sure that your room was like that. You remember it before you went to bed. However, you're doubting yourself now. Two people that you trust, two people that you believe in, two people that you think, you are your family, other people who wouldn't lie to you. They'd never lie to you. They have your best interests at heart. Are saying you're wrong, that something's off with you. Well, it must be this way. But what happens when it happens again? What happens when you wake up the next morning and your room is blue now, or brown, or green, and the bed's moved again, and they tell you again and again and again, no, it's always been this way. No, it's always been this way. Well, then you start to doubt your own sanity, don't you? You always do. Hey, 𝓂𝓸𝓾𝓻, what is up? Welcome to class. It's good to see you. Good morning/evening, Zanny. Hope you have an amazing day/evening, and I hope you have a nice stream. Sending lots of love. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Take a seat, my dear sweet student, and get ready, because we're going to learn, okay? Do we have a spare desk? Do we have a spare desk? Do we? Do we? You. Yeah, shuffle over a bit. Shuffle over a bit. Put your bag on the floor. It can go on the floor. It's not a Birkin. You're fine. There you go. There you go. Just sit there. Just sit there. There you go. There we go. So, with that in mind, keep things going. Keep things unpredictable. And make sure that reality doesn't quite feel real. It always ends up somewhere juicy. And of course, finally, every horror story, including psychological horror, needs catharsis, okay? Conflict and catharsis. Conflict and catharsis. Now, listening to this while I'm driving maybe wasn't the best choice because I'm fine at work. And I can say the build-up earlier did startle me. I'm so sorry. Imagine if someone crashed their car because they were listening to me while driving and I did that. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. I should never do that. Okay. Now, catharsis. Conflict and catharsis. Every horror movie villain, every horror movie thing, right, tends to be a reflection of a challenge that the protagonist or the victim needs to overcome. Moonlight, great one. The scary Moonlight guy, the dude who left the woman chained to the bed and she had to escape, or turning around and looking at the thing. And again, it's a sort of parable for growing up, the struggle of getting older and losing one's innocence in and of itself. Or, Silent Hill, where you have to turn around and now smother your girlfriend, your wife with a pillow. Or I guess you could just get chased around by Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head. Anyway, class. Class. It's always good to have at the end of the story, some level of catharsis. Have people turn around at the very end of the story and have them overcome something. Have them turn around and actually be better because of what they experienced. Okay? Have them actually have learned something. It's like any part of a good story. Have their suffering be worth something at the end, right? So, with that, the genres of horror. These are not all of the genres of horror. However, when writing your horror story or looking to incorporate elements of horror into your already existing story, select one of these. Select one of these. Now, this works for thrillers, this works for horror, this works for any genre, even action, comedy, anything you want to introduce a little splash of horror to. You need to select a genre of horror before you dive on in. Why? Because otherwise you will find yourself losing direction. And I even color-coded these for you. I even fucking color-coded these for you. Why? Because I'm better than most university lecturers. I don't send you home to do homework and outsource my job to you. So, to quote Mary Shelley, there is something at work in my soul which I do not understand. Yay, colors indeed. So, and to go down the list, and explain, but sir, the colors are gradient. Yes, and? Yes, and? Yes, and the gradient's far more appealing to the eyes. Exactly. So, to go down the list, we've already touched on supernatural horror, right? We already have supernatural horror, elements of the unknown, elements of the supernatural intersecting with our own. Now, supernatural horror falls under werewolves, vampires, ghosts, spirits, demons, those sorts of things. The Omen, supernatural horror. The Exorcist, supernatural horror. Twilight to some degree. Fuck me, I can't believe I said that. Supernatural horror, right? There are elements. Now, psychological horror, that's where we blend in more human constructs. You know, the Invisible Man, turning around and having your characters doubt themselves. Even going as far as Shining. You've got Jack Nicholson with the old axe coming down the door, you know. There are supernatural elements in the psychological horror, but most of the horror is human inflicted. So we're going to say that. Okay, that's wonderful. Then we have slasher horror. We've got Scream, Saw, those types of things. Okay. We have, not going to lie though, I'm one of those people that does find slasher horror rather funny. I usually end up rooting for the slasher because like 90% of the time the stupid teens deserve it. And again, Freddy and Jason, two slasher horror, well, powerhouses, okay? Slasher horror powerhouses. And then survival horror. A good example of survival horror, Alien. You know, you've got Ripley. If anyone's seen me starting to play Alien Isolation, it's great. But you know, having Ripley try and make her way through this creature that's hunting her, or even Predator to some degree. You know, Predator. The movie was with old Arnold Schwarzenegger, with him turning around and being hunted and doing his thing. You know, it's all quite phenomenal. Okay, all quite phenomenal. And then if we go into gothic horror, okay, we could touch on any of the more recent Dracula movies or TV shows. Now, I will say, okay, gothic horror needs a very specific loving touch to it, okay? There are... Oh, here we go. Wait, so something like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey would be a good slasher horror. Indeed, you're correct. Yes. Bad movie, but it's all about just bunch of sexy teens getting hunted by dude with chainsaw. Okay, just think sexy people getting hunted by dude with chainsaw. Boom, you've got slasher horror in a nutshell. Okay. It's almost always like the very attractive, like late teens, 19, 18 sort of years old camp counselors getting hunted by someone with a chainsaw. All right, that's almost always the way it goes. Okay, it's almost always the way it goes. Please reword this, so someone tries to cancel. Okay, anyone who actually has watched a slasher gets what I mean. Okay, it's practically the description. You have 18-year-old, 19-year-old camp counselor getting chased by guy with machete. All right, watch any of the Friday the 13th, not Friday the 13th. Any of the Jason movies. Okay. So yes, technically true. Real, indeed. But gothic horror, anything sort of more vampire, werewolf related, just sort of goes in usually that sort of direction. Obviously, it can be sort of a little bit, it can be a little much sometimes to have like the gargoyles and the castle stuff and all of that, but it does usually play in that direction. Now, Eldritch Horror is the one that is my personal favorite. Do you see that one there? Okay. I love all of my children, but Eldritch Horror is the child I will turn around and say, hey, You're my favorite. Don't tell the others. You're my favorite. Don't tell the others. All right. You're the one that I really care about. You're the one that you're. If you ever needed a kidney, I'd make one of the others give it to you. Eldritch horror. But Call of Cthulhu. Cthulhu is a great example, right? Cthulhu is a wonderful, wonderful example, and I love it. H.P. Lovecraft was the father of Eldritch horror, the progenitor of it, and the genre has only been improved upon these days, okay? It's the one with the tentacles. All right, it's the one with people going insane. It's the one with people going insane, losing their minds as a result of things they experience, and of course, the idea that there are things beyond that we should not understand or know. Okay, we will go a little bit deeper into Eldritch horror in the following slides as well, but fundamentally, it's the one with mystical horror where people lose their minds through knowing too much, and the aftershocks of this genre are always more present and scarier than the monster itself. Think of it as incomprehensible horrors from beyond my understanding. There you go. Have you heard of the Magnus Archive? I've not heard of the Magnus Archives, but before we go on, we've hit the midway point, so that means it's question time. Everyone. Bloodborne, indeed. Have a gold star. Yeah, there you go. Stick that on your forehead. Yeah. Have I read Junji Ito? I have a Junji Ito quote in one of my following slides. Yes. And indeed, yes. The bisexual energy of this image. What? I think it's a wonderful image. I don't know what your problem is. Are you telling me like the human centipede? No. The human centipede would be body horror. The human centipede would be body horror. Body horror is probably my least favorite of the horrors, to be quite honest, because it relies on kind of gross out horror, and I'm just like bleh. You know, it's not really my thing. It's not quite my thing. Have I seen Crimson Peak? Not yet. I'm a little behind. Would you consider writing horror stories and reading it for us? Maybe ASMR. I would love to do that. I would actually love to do that sometime. How is Gothic horror different from supernatural horror? I would say Gothic horror has an aesthetic tone to it, such as, castles, gargoyles, hard stone. The idea of a oppressive place that is something that is very difficult, almost struggles to make things quite, I would say it's the inherent hostility of a place that plays into Gothic horror, whereas supernatural horror, it's always about demons, spirits, and sort of entities beyond understanding that infest, rather than the environment being a place in and of itself. And bibbidi bun, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Thank you, supers. The 20 gifted Netherbrandeds. There are now 20 more Netherbrandeds in this world. Thank you very much, bibbidi bun. But here we go. What do you think about mixing horror and comedy? Is it ever successful to you? Sometimes, but it has to be done very, very carefully. It has to be done very, very carefully. I think that using comedy to accentuate horror and using horror to accentuate comedy is good, but it has to be done by a skilled writer. Is Alice in Borderlands a horror or a thriller? It can be both. It can be both. You can have thrillers that have elements of psychological horror, and you can have horror which has elements of psychological thriller. I would say Alice in Borderlands is actually quite close to The Shining in some respects, with the idea that, the human madness and the craziness is something that permeates through. I would say the best way to differentiate, by the way, is there's to follow up to the next question, to differentiate Gothic and supernatural horror, is supernatural horror focus more on the demon or the spirit or the devil than on the location itself. The location itself in Gothic horror does a lot of the work and a lot of the carrying, whereas in supernatural horror, it's quite often that that the demon, the creature, the entity is there. For example, imagine me trying to possess you. Can you imagine how great that would be? It would be great. I'd need to get a special pass to be summoned, and honestly, Infernal Affairs are an absolute mess with that these years. But think of it that way. Oh, thoughts on, I think I call it cosmic horror, akin to Eldritch, but the focus is more on coping with the knowledge that you're tiny in the universe and is enormous and doesn't care about you. My go-to example is 𝔂𝓸𝓾𝓻. I have not seen 𝔂𝓸𝓾, but I would say cosmic horror is closely tied to Eldritch horror. I would say that cosmic horror and Eldritch horror are kind of like twins that are like a little bit joined at the hip. You can have one without the other, but quite often getting deeper into Eldritch horror lends itself to cosmic horror. I would say my thoughts on cosmic horror are, it's almost like Eldritch horror is the gateway drug, cosmic horror is what you end up on. That's probably the best way to say it. And I will check out 𝔂𝓸𝓾𝓻. I've not heard of that one. Here we go. This is a good question. This is a very good question. Also, thank you again, Mooney the Spoonie, for the super. Nowadays, it's hard to stand out, so I wanted to know, what is the key objective to writing a one-of-a-kind, unique horror story? Can also be applied to any genre. That's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. Gold star for that one. I know I'm giving these out left and right, but heck, cool. Heck, go for it. There you go. There you go. Gold star. So, I would say the best way to have your story stand out is to have it be good. I've had this conversation with all of you before, but the writing industry has become more and more drawn into this humdrum mediocrity. And I would say taking your time, having a good protagonist, understanding your framing, and making sure that, because you can't go into a book saying, I'm going to have a one-of-a-kind, unique concept. The concept is created over time. You sit down, you work, you think, you slowly build your way up, and then through adding different items and different recipes to the pot, different spices, you'll create something unique. But you never start off with something unique in your hands. It takes time, it takes love, it takes effort. And then, when you do have that something unique, you need to let the world know about it. So don't turn around and keep it to yourself. Don't just post it on your Tumblr and say, I'm done, you know. Get it bound, send it to a publisher, go see what you can do, see if you can get it out there. At the end of the day, you know, I think it's my buddy Mary who turned around and said that if you post what you want or post the thing you're trying to get out there everywhere, over time, millions of people will see it. Tens of thousands of people will see it, if not. Don't just post it to Wattpad and have done, okay? Wattpad are fucking liars when they say, we have movie people. All of you have used fucking Wattpad. All of you have seen that bullshit advertisement that they have on the front where they go, movie people, we have people who write for Hollywood now who started writing on Wattpad. No, they don't, okay? No, they don't. I'm sure the girl that wrote 50 Shades of Grey posted her thing on Wattpad one time. That's not a literary triumph, okay? No, in the garbage can. In the garbage can. All right, we've learned our lesson. All right, if you want to read your Fallout New Vegas X Set X Alphelios fan fiction on Wattpad, go for it. But for now, all right, leave Wattpad alone. Leave Wattpad alone. Leave it. Oh, nah, Prof, I have a question. And thank you for the super, by the way. Is it necessary for the protagonist to lose their mind to make the horror? Is it unreliably worth investing? Now, losing the mind and... Okay. Losing the mind and having lost the mind are two separate states. Sanity is a sliding scale. Okay, let me move my move my ass to the center. There we go. I'm a little bit more center now. Okay. Losing the mind and having lost the mind, sanity is a sliding scale. It's a sliding scale, all right? It's a sliding scale. That means that someone does not have to completely lose their mind for reality to begin to distort, all right? I've had nights where I've had so much to fucking drink, I don't know what's up and down, right? That doesn't mean I'm staying drunk forever. That just means that I'm going to have one hell of a hangover the next morning when I come back down, right? But that, you get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Sanity is a sliding scale. You don't have to have someone completely lose their mind for there to be a payoff. You can have people go through stints and periods of being a little bit out there, having lost themselves slightly, states of delirium. It's there. It exists. It happens, you know? Just make sure you keep it in mind that everything is... don't treat it like a permanent debuff. Treat it like a status effect. There you go. Just to go into my gamer mode. There. That's good. That's good. And yes, AO3 based. AO3 based. Use AO3, not Wattpad. Would surrealist horror fall into any of the established categories, or is it unique on its own? I would say it's on its own. It's on its own. Definitely. It's a little bit more complicated to explain surrealist horror, so I've not put it in this one, but I think that it's probably better to turn around and just address that one its own time. Think of that's like taking an advanced class in Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, right now we're just covering the basic sets. We're just covering warrior, barbarian, sorcerer, all of that. Listen, we can get to Eldritch Knight in a bit, but we're just covering the basics first. Is there a way to keep a slasher good? Keep it unpredictable. Keep it unpredictable. Keep it unpredictable. Keep it unpredictable. It's okay. Sexy people get murdered by man dressed as Winnie the Pooh with the chainsaw. Cool, great, wonderful, love that, great, thumbs up. Okay, sexy people get murdered. Love that. However, the thing I fucking hate with slashers, two things. One, why do the people not fight back? And why is it that the fucking women in slashers always fucking fall over? Why can't they run fucking straight? Right? I don't know why, but it's always the same. It's always the fucking same. Like, I want to subvert that for one time. It's always like, oh, I'm running. Oh, Becky, I'm running. Oh, I've fallen over. Oh, I'm going to die now. Oh, Mr. Slasher Man, no. Like, fucking hell, Becky, stop it. Stop it, Becky. Stop it. If you can keep heels on for an entire night out, you can make it through the forest in flats without falling over. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to fucking say. Oh, okay, we'll go with the last couple of questions. Advice for playing Malkavians and similar characters. Don't be a fish, Malk. Turn around and I would say don't overplay the insanity. Instead, try and latch on to, one or two things that you want to have your characters sort of focus around, where their sort of mind goes. And definitely do like a tiny bit of research for whatever sort of mental or whatever sort of insanity you wish to have on that character, because you know everyone gets sick of the fucking I'm so crazy, I'm so goofy Malkavian who's totally insane. I would say play it in a darker, creepier way and make it something that's there. And of course, no fishman for real, no fishman for real. Oh, and finally. So just have the plot twist be possible. Make everyone question who's really good and bad. Just casually gaslight everyone to think many things. I mean, that's a great way to do it, honestly. Honestly, it's a great way to do it. I think a wonderful. Okay, so we're going to go into this. It's a game I would love to play on stream. Until Dawn. Until Dawn had you guessing who was bad, who was good, who was sane, who was insane, for the longest time, okay? It didn't tell you who was right, who was wrong, who was crazy, who was not, until the end. The only thing that we knew was that we needed to survive. And even then, it turned out one of us was a piece of shit. Right? It still had that. It was still there. It was brutal. You were a bunch of petty teenagers. Until Dawn's the perfect example of when I say, like, by the way, like, oh, the fucking sexy 18, 19 fucking bullshit trope where it's all a bunch of grown adults pretending to be fucking 18. But fucking, I won't believe. Tell me Brett Dalton in that thing, the guy in his mid-30s is 18. Try me. But you all start off, you're horrible people at the beginning, you all kind of deserve what's happening after horribly bullying a girl, and now look what you've got. Okay, now look what you've got. You get what you deserve. Do you know what you deserve? Wendigos. There you go. There you go. All right. That's the last bit of question time. That's the last bit of question time. But yes, not very many horror movies actually have solid plot twists. Most of them just have existence. Just exist. They just exist. They just happen. It's sort of just the consequences of actions. And then, oh yes, we do our magic summoning circle and the demon goes away. But how do I write horror? How? I know how. We haven't actually gotten into the actual solid meat and potatoes, the grungy bit. They're not supposed to say their names. Say whatever. Nah, I can say whatever names I can say names. No, it's brands that I'm not allowed to say the name of. It's brands that I'm not allowed to say the name of. You know, I go shop at Incubus. I don't drink coffee. I drink Incubrand coffee. But yes, how do I write horror? Well, that's what we're getting into next. I think perhaps all of us go a little crazy at times. Robert Bloch from Psycho. But, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Remember to reference back to Writing 101. That stream had all of the stuff you need to actually get your feet under the table with basic writing, okay? But if we're going into how to write horror, okay, we fill in the blanks. I'm a horror maniac who prefers to stay at home. Junji Ito. Step 1. Now, I'm going to give you the basic steps here, the cheat codes. These are the Zander cheat codes. You get Zander cheat codes every time I do one of these streams. So here are your Zanny cheat codes. Here you go. Step 1. Establish the atmosphere. Okay? Use descriptive language to invoke a sense of dread and unease. Okay? Descriptive language will be your best friend throughout this process. Step 2, build tension. Before even introducing your monster creature horror, build tension. Gradually escalate the sense of unease through the story. Use pacing, foreshadowing, and suspenseful moments. Have your character walk down a dark hallway and have them feel an oppressive presence. Have something negative happen that foreshadows what is to come. Have the first drips of horror begin to come through. Gently ebb and flow it in. Okay? Gently do that. Then, create relatable characters. This should be something you're doing to start off with. If you're not doing this, back to Writing 101 for you. But create relatable characters. Anchor the reader in the story. It makes the horror feel more personal. If you have your character turn around and actually feel like someone that we can relate to, okay? No one fucking relates to the billionaire going through some horror experience, right? The protagonist has to be someone that you can see yourself in the shoes of, okay? I couldn't turn around and relate to, I don't know, fucking Richard Branson if he went through a horror movie. I'd be like, okay, good for you. You're too rich to care about that, right? Sorry, Professor Zanny, I don't feel very well and need to pass out in bed. Can I take a makeup class? Sure, I'll see you afterwards for a tutor class. I'll tutor someone, whatever. You can stay after next time. No, go rest up, sleep well. If you see yourself as a billionaire, then that's great. But still, you know, positive place, envision where you are. But have the character be relatable. Have them be what's called an everyman. You know, have them be someone that you could see yourself relating to. Okay, have it be someone that you can relate to directly, and that most people can relate to. Because if you can relate to them, chances are most people can, or at least people like you can, and that's something special. You know, some great examples would be the. Do you remember the boy or the boy, that movie with the doll, the creepy doll, with the guy that lived in the wall? I'm hoping I'm remembering the name of it right. I think I am though. So the nanny, the lady in that, the woman in that, who was the nanny for the weird boy, fucking Brahms, yes, Brahms. She was relatable. Why? Not because of any particular virtue or she was a nanny, but because of the fact that the entire reason she takes the job at the very beginning is her on the phone going, I fucking hate kids, but I need to pay my rent. And this is a job that pays good money, right? Boom, boom. That's so relatable. That's so relatable, okay? Why? Because hell, it's real. It's real. When you have the characters do kind of real things, right? It's real. Have them go, shit, I really don't want to do this, but I kind of need to pay my rent. You know, turn around, be like, listen, I don't really want to go to my great uncle Fester's house and have to stay in there for 3 nights in order to get his billions of dollars of inheritance. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think I deserve $1 billion. Why? Because fuck everyone who doesn't have a great uncle Fester, you know? Relatable characters are always a win. Indeed, relatable characters are always a win. So have those moments. Don't be afraid to have them not be larger than life. All right? Have them turn around and be like, I really don't want to do this. Have them do petty, stupid shit, you know? I love having my characters do petty, stupid shit. One of my favorite things, actually, was what I was in a play that I wrote, was having one of my characters have, and it was stage, it was one of the stage plays that I did in Barcelona. I had one of the characters have a fallout with one of the others, right? And this was before the play started, but one of the first scenes is they are getting a phone call from their friend who wants to talk about the argument that they had, right? Right? And I had him take out his phone. I had him look at his phone. He was there with someone else. They were talking back and forth. I had him, while the phone was ringing, put it on the table and say, I want to leave it a few more rings before I answer, because I want that to be a bit of a fuck you. I wanted him to, that was something that was just there. I wanted him to leave it a few extra rings. I wanted him to vocalize the fact that he was deliberately leaving it extra rings before he answered because he'd had a fallout with this person and wanted to make them feel, because it's petty. Because it's petty. When characters do petty shit, it's relatable. Because we do petty shit. You do petty shit. I do petty shit. We all do petty shit. Right? We do. All of us do. To be human is to do petty shit. Right. And of course, just to play into an earlier question, having a relatable character means that the audience gets more drawn into the psychological horror because they can see themselves in their shoes, you know? No one likes perfect characters or perfect people. It's why they engender so much disdain. So have them be petty. Have them be kind of dickish. Have them do terrible things, or have them do things that aren't perfect. Have them just be normal people getting by. It works so many wonderful ways. Right? Exactly. And of course, finally, leave things to the imagination. Use ambiguity and suggestion. Sometimes people say show, don't tell. I'm a big fan of just show, don't tell, and then leave it. I love leaving blanks in the description or just in moments to make people's minds run wild. Why? Because when you leave blanks in the description of something, people's minds can often fill in those blanks with the thing that they dread the most. You don't know your audience's preferences. You don't know what scares your audience. I don't know if I don't know if Delilah's scared of clowns. I don't know if Na's scared of spiders. I don't know if Sangwoo's scared of I don't know, fish. I don't know if Lily's scared of dogs. I don't know what you're scared of. I don't know any of your personal fears, right? But if you leave blanks in the story, right? If you leave blanks, people's minds will fill in. If you say, then heck, you leave that opening, their minds will fill in the blanks. And of course, how about tell, don't show? Tell them horror and make them wait for it. That's also good. That's also good. I would say having someone mention something that's happened and then leaving it is a good example. Tell, don't show would actually be quite common in some forms of horror. How many times does the stereotype of how do I put it? How many times does the stereotype of the new person coming into town and the old man or the grizzled elder be like, oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, Sonny, something like that, hinting that something deeper and darker has happened before. Tell, don't show can be a useful foreshadowing tool. Just be sure not to tell too much. All right, next up. We're getting close to the end now. We're getting close to the end, my sweet netherlings. I'm going to slam my head into the table if you don't get this, all right? You slam my head in the table. Focus on emotion. Focus on emotion. Focus on emotion, all right? Focus on emotion. Don't worry, we're not at the end yet. We still got a little bit to go, but focus on emotions, okay? And when I say that, horror is terror. Focus on your protagonist's fear. Focus on what they feel, okay? Focus on that. Drill down into that. That is what they are going through. Have this be essentially a protagonist-driven experience, okay? Their emotions are what is going to fuel the horror, okay? Their emotions are what is going to turn around and make this so compelling. It's not about the monster. It's about the world's reaction to the monster. It's about the protagonist being afraid of the monster. Would people have found the Invisible Man scary if the lady in that had just gone, oh, well, I guess, I'm being stalked by an invisible guy now. Oh, well, I hope he doesn't watch me changing. No, but she turned around, she's screaming, she's panicked, she's freaked out, she's scared, she's paranoid, she's anxious, right? These are the emotions that engender, okay? Sympathy, empathy. Empathy is the key word. Play into reader empathy. Play into reader empathy, okay? Make them feel for them. Make them feel sorry. Move me with your tears. Move me with your tears. There we go. Focus on the body as well. Focus on the body. In life or death situations, your focus shifts from the mental to the physical. Your heart pounding in your chest, your breath catching in your throat, your lungs feeling as if they are not able to capture all of the oxygen that they need, your pulse quickening as your ears begin to hear the blood flow pumping, boom, 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 as your heart pounds in your chest as you run, the creature behind you, its breath on the back of your neck as your skin stands on end, your body tingling with anticipation, the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. Oh. Descriptive language in the body does wonders. It does wonders. And finally, or next up I should say, build with the tempo. Good horror is a dance. Good horror is a dance. It's a steady ebb and flow, back and forth, back and forth. Fear, catharsis, light, dark, play back and forth. It's a dance. Why? It's a dance of death and life and fear and fiction. So be sure to feel the tempo of your story. There's a steady beat that you're playing with. Ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. Play too much into the horror and it loses its meaning. Your audience becomes desensitized to it. Play too much into feeling safe and suddenly people spend all of their time being bored as they wait for the horror. Let the steady ebb and flow go back and forth. Because again, there's a tempo, there's a heart, there's a dance, there's a rhythm. So make the most of it and enjoy. And finally, of course, when you're playing that dance, dance with the dark, dance with the macabre. Don't be afraid to take things beyond the place where you personally are comfortable. You're in a safe environment. It's your writing, it's your words on a page. You're not always going to be, 100% confident where the story's going. You're not always going to be constantly in your wheelhouse. You're not always going to feel constantly confident in what you do. But don't be afraid to make yourself a little uncomfortable when you're writing horror, because that often leads to some of the most interesting results. Horror is fear. Fear is a dark thing, and sometimes it can take you to a rather dark place when you write. But as long as you know that you are good enough to keep playing this game, keep playing a rather dark and deadly idea of a game, you can do wonderfully. Just don't be afraid to play with some of the darker sides of things, and look after yourself while you do it. After all, I think it was Stephen King who turned around and said that for the first something like 14, 12 years of his writing career, he doesn't have too great a memory of what he wrote. He used to go into his office, crack open a bottle of whiskey, pound that down, and then write a bestseller and wake up with like 200 pages on his desk, Don't send yourself into a terrible dark place of horror writing. Just know that your imagination is going to be a scary place at times. And drunk writing stream when one day, perhaps, I can barely spell when sober. And of course, I've left this bit until last. I've left this bit until last, this next little touch upon, right? Because this is there. Okay, I know that you're saying that as a joke, use my depression to my advantage, but that's actually, good. That's actually good advice. Negative emotions that you feel as an individual can be put into your stories and can be used to inspire. This is a completely off-topic thing, but now you've actually said something very valuable there. Negative emotions that you feel can be put into your stories and used as inspiration for both the monsters, creatures, and environment. If you have these negative feelings, feel free to use them. No, I'm not joking at all. Well, either way, get a gold star. There you go. There you go. Writing horror, writing dark things can be a really, really good outlet for negative emotions. Now, I'm not before we get on anything, okay, I'm not giving you therapeutic advice. I'm not a therapist, right? But writing, for me, has always been a really, really good outlet. It's always been a really, really good outlet. It's been one of the ways that I, when I was younger, would always soothe myself. I would write stories. I would write things. It would always be a way to turn around and put these negative feelings that I perhaps felt within myself onto the page, and it would be something productive, and it would be something good, and it would be something I could be praised for, So taking those moments and being able to take that negativity and turn it into something positive, something good, something that you receive praise for, something that you feel good about yourself for having created, is a cathartic thing in my mind. There you go. There you go. Why do you think so many artists are in a constant state of being miserable? Because that's where all the inspiration is. Professor, as a kid, I used to draw random human figure things. Do you think I can use those creepy drawings as a mystery? Fuck yeah, you can. Fuck yeah, you can. And of course, in his house at Relief, dead Cthulhu waits dreaming. H.P. Lovecraft, Call of Cthulhu. Our final slide. Okay. Witness, victim, survivor, protagonist. Who is your protagonist? What is your protagonist? Why, your protagonist is the witness, the victim, and the survivor. They are the one who lives to tell the story. They are the one who turns around and makes sure the world knows what happens. Why? Because if no one got away from this horrible experience, how would anyone live to pass on the events of what happened? If bad things have happened, they need to be both the... They need, literally, your protagonist is the witness, the victim, and the survivor. It's the final girl syndrome. You know, final girl syndrome, okay? It's like if you shake a bunch of horror movie protagonists into a room, you find some female ages of 18 to 25, blonde, and probably starts off somewhat helpless, but then becomes a tiny bit more badass towards the end, right? It's always that. Have your witness, your protagonist, your survivor, be the one that lives to tell the story. They pass on and they make the suffering worth something. Now, I would say that the suffering being worth something is the most important. If you have a story which has a cathartic ending, because we talk about catharsis earlier on, just referencing back, right? If we do that, then there's something to be gained. A horror movie can feel good at the end. It can give purpose. It can give a story that's either a film or a book or something, a solid purpose, a solid feeling, something to turn around and go, hey, that did something. That made something better, right? Slashers would be a bad thing to try and do this for, right? No, actually. Slashers still need one person to get away at the end. It always pays dividends to have someone survive, whether it's the dude or the dudette or the mother or the family or someone. Just have someone get away at the end, because the end is not always the end. How many times have you read a story, read a book, read something, and there's always that little hint, oh, there's more to come. The victim of one of these stories lives to tell the tale up until that point, up until your ending, but have they ever truly escaped the trauma that they went through? It will always exist within their mind. It will always follow them. And whether or not it has physically ended or hasn't, has the demon truly been vanquished, or is the hot incubus going to stalk you to the ends of the earth forever? Is it possible? Oh, and yes, it is possible for no one to survive, even if they're the protagonist. However, and I'm if you do a full cast wipe, if you choose to wipe out everyone, you need to have some way that they've passed the story on. A note, a videotape, a booklet, or something. Okay, this is what I'm going. We're going to do a scene together. We're going to play through a scene. Okay, we've gone through an entirety of a supernatural horror movie. Okay, we've had the protagonist. Let's call her, I don't know, Jenny. Jenny is final girl. She's made it through all of the story, the suffering, the everything. She's realized that she might not get away, but she can stop this demon, this contagion from spreading. So she records a videotape saying, this is how you stop the demon, this is how I am doing it, this is why I'm doing it. And she gets got, you know, after she finishes the recording, she gets killed, she disappears, she's done, right? The end. The story rolls on, everything goes on, it's okay. And then we have the story suddenly pick up again for the true ending, right? Which is two new characters, a cast of new characters finding the videotape, playing it, and the first scene of this, or the first hint that this demon is watching, plays. That's how you do a full party kill and yet still have a satisfying ending. Why? Because a step has been taken towards vanquishing this demon, and although the protagonist did not manage to do it, they were able to pass some knowledge on to the next people who were to encounter this creature, okay? That's a very good example. Like Truth or Dare, where she recorded a video telling the whole world about it and continues the game. Yes, kind of like that. Or It Follows. It Follows is another good example as well. It Follows, although It Follows is kind of just one big metaphor for STDs, but, you know, still, it's there. It's there. You know, let the protagonist have an honorable and meaningful death which progresses the cause of their story and brings people one step closer to beating said demon. Let them be a link in a chain and give their death meaning moving forward, okay? There we go. There we go. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? That's a way to do a full wipe, but still have it be meaningful. Because that plays into point 2 on here. Make their suffering worth something. It makes all of the stuff they've gone through worth something to someone at the end. Otherwise, it just becomes a sad story. Like, oh, why did I just want to watch a bunch of people die? And nothing good came of it. You know, it's demotivating as an audience. Okay, so it's demotivating as an audience. Go. Now, with that in mind, the end. We're doing one final round of question time before wrapping up. Unless they were bad people, I suppose. But even then, bad people get to have their day. Bad people. What do we say? Bad people can do good things. Good people can do terrible things. We need to turn around and always remember that. Always remember that. Now, thank you for being such a lovely, lovely cast. We'll take a handful of questions before we start the wrap up. And of course, thank you all for coming to my lovely horror stream. We'll do some questions. I love questions. Do you think? Oh, here we go. Do you think it's become harder to write successful horror as casual consumption of taboo topics has increased? For example, thrillers and crime podcasts or creatures with horror monster romances. I would say so, but even then, I think that it's created a way that we have to pivot the way that horror is written. I think that the idea of having the taboo itself, or those enforcing the reason for the taboo, can become the actual monster in the horror. The idea of this strange puritanism behind something can often be as scary as the perfection or the former taboo in and of itself. I think A Cure for Wellness is a good example of that, where people become so focused on getting well and living this very pure and well lifestyle. You know, it kind of reminds me of sort of the puritanism of the internet, where, you know, people very quickly get their pitchforks and knives out as soon as people get a little bit too raunchy in one way or another. But I think that's a very interesting way how the idea of this almost purity in and of itself can become both the catalyst and the monster in horror. I think that is a very interesting opportunity that was open, that would not have been open 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's wonderful, you know? Because even then, how many horror movies have we seen set in various religious organizations with, you know, the whole very strict doctrine? We could almost spin that into a very strict dogma of openness and wellness and you know, oh, we're just doing the right, you know, we can take out the actual like faith idea of it, because I've said before, you know, leaning on faith, the trope, is often a very poor idea, and it's one that is kind of unimaginative at best. So we can definitely spin it around. The thing on when you can use depression for writing and use other things like anxiety, paranoia. With the thing on how you can use your depression for writing, could you use it for other things, paranoia, anxiety, other kinds of personal... Yes. So obviously do so in a healthy way, look after yourself. But any sort of negative emotion can be put into a story and used as a kind of catalyst for writing. I think that, you know, of course, looking after yourself is your main thing. I'm your professor, not a therapist. However, negative emotions, no matter what they are, can be used as a catalyst for writing. Any emotion can be used as a catalyst for writing. But I would say that, you know, when you're writing something dark, then often you can use anything sort of negative that you are feeling as a catalyst for that. I'm actually writing something. Can I ask if, should I build up the tense like common horror or make it unpredictable? All right. How am I gonna, without knowing too much about what you're writing, build up the tense like common horror, and then once you've created a baseline, then subvert it, then be unpredictable. You can't start off being unpredictable. Let's move me a bit. I'm going to the middle now. There we go. I'm stepping back so I can step forward. Excuse me. There we go. There we go. Better. Much better. I can actually stretch out now. There we go. Good. Okay. All right, there you go. You can't start off being unpredictable. Otherwise, that creates unpredictable being your baseline. Start off with common, start off with acceptable, then subvert. You can't subvert upon subversion. Otherwise, then you just create a fucking mess. Okay? Depends. Oh, do you have any advice on how to present horror themes through art that is not blatant? Ah, look, blood. Can we use the teachings from here to do that? Yes, most certainly. Most certainly. This doesn't just apply to writing. This can apply to art, this can apply to drawn art, pictures, finger painting, sock puppets, fucking Dungeons and Dragons, fucking modern art. You can take this stuff and present it in any way. You might have to recontextualize what I'm saying and kind of read a bit between the lines, but it's definitely possible. And it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. Fucking sock puppets. Genuine question. Is having an ending in a horror story where they thought it was worth sacrificing for, but was for naught, also under horror? Sorry for this question. No, don't apologize for a question. No, the only question that's stupid is the one that you never asked. Okay, there you go. That's a good question. Even if they sacrifice for naught, have the sacrifice for naught teach something for those who carry on. All right? Have the sacrifice for naught be something. Have people learn that even though this failed, it's taught us that we shouldn't do that. You know, it's taught us something, because having a total blank sacrifice invalidates the struggle of the story. That's probably it. Okay. And of course, for all of you who are aspiring writers out there, or creatives, or writing something cool right now, or trying to do something really, really awesome with your creativity and imagination, keep it up. Okay, keep it up. I know you're going to do wonderfully. I have full faith in you. Absolutely full faith. Question: can religious elements be used in a story where those are the things causing the horrors? Most certainly, most certainly. It's been done time and time again, to the point where it's almost been done to death. But if you're looking into sort of that area of, I want to almost say classic horror, like The Nun, for example, most certainly you can do that. You can most certainly lean into that. You can create something good off of that. But you might have to try a little bit harder to be original, because of the fact that quite often it's been done quite a lot. But I believe in you, you know? I believe that you can do something there. Is suspense and horror the same aspect of the genre? Good question as well. No. Suspense can be just in thrillers. For example, the Jason Bourne movies, like spy movies, they class as thrillers by common description because of the amount of suspense in them. However, they're not horror movies, are they? I would say the key aspect to any horror movie, and this is a really good question actually, because it's sent there. It centers us somewhere. The key aspect to any horror movie is the protagonist's powerlessness. The protagonist's powerlessness is a key aspect, because if the protagonist is able to fight back in a meaningful way, then what it does is it suddenly makes the monster so much less scary, right? It's why horror games become less scary when the character gets a gun, you know? I was wondering if the whole horror genre itself is objectively for teenagers above, since I haven't seen a horror movie aimed for kids. Yeah. A kid's horror movie is a bit difficult to sort of aim for. I would say the genre is intended for older audiences, just because of the fact that you have to walk a ridiculously finite line when you're making a horror movie. If you were making a horror movie for children, I mean, heck, it kind of reminds. Okay. Like Coraline is a good example of a horror movie aimed at kids, but it also kind of reminds me of this story, unrelated, but you know what? Teacher Zanny's having a moment here. It reminds me of how back in, like, I want to say like 2016, 2015, I would say there was this story. I will read the super but a moment, but there was this time where this movie Paranorman came out, right? and a bunch of parents took their kids to the theatre in the United Kingdom to watch it, right? However, the theatre got the tapes mixed up, and instead of putting on Paranorman, they put on Paranormal Activity. Into this audience of like 8-year-olds who were there to watch a kids movie. They put on Paranormal Activity. And the theater got sued for so much money. And they were all there, and no one realized it until afterwards. But yeah, no, ended with a bunch of kids running out of the movie. You know, they didn't stay for the whole film. No, I think people figured it out quite quick. But you know, it was enough for it was a good chunk in. You know, how did they not know? I don't know. Tapes get mixed up. But Mooney the Spoonie, thank you for the super. Ari, regarding religious horror. A little caveat, you know that saying good comedy punches up? That goes for horror too. Exactly. Good comedy punches up. It goes for horror too. Sometimes you can have the classic outsider horror, which is always there, but quite often the outsider horror is inspired by, you know, actions of the dominant group turning around and causing that horror upon themselves, you know. There are so many times where, you know, the big company that's doing, I don't know, like fracking or something, wakes the evil beast from down below, and as a result, they all get eaten, and a bunch of people get eaten. But it's there. Oh, Moon, thank you for the super as well. Thank you for the lesson. Today, I'm writing a monster horror for one of my finals, and that really helped me get ideas for it. Hey, good luck with your finals. Good luck with your finals. I'm really glad I was able to help for that. Really, really good. Really, really good. Is it finals time where you are? Because is it finals time? Because if it's finals time for like writing people, now is a good time to, like, not even in a self-shilling, hey, watch my VODs way. Now is a good time to go through some of the writing VODs if you are, okay? Like, it's good background. It's something for your minds. If it is time for finals for those of you who are watching and you've got writing things, feel free to go back through my earlier stuff. Like, again, this is not a shill thing. I want all of my Netherlings to do really, really good. I want all of you to turn around and ace your finals. You've got this, okay? Good luck. Good luck, Moon. Thank you for the super. You're going to do amazing. I believe that you are going to kill it at finals. You're going to do amazingly. All right, let's shuffle back to the little Zatsu room. Here we go. There we go. And let me shuffle over here. Meow. Here. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And that was the majority of the class. I hope you all really enjoyed it. I think that this is the point where we shall start our wrap up for today. And I hope that you all liked Horror 101. This was a little bit shorter, but when I'm covering specific genres, you know, it's a thing where you have to kind of be a bit more thorough, but also a bit more general at the same time. So it's more of a targeted, focused lesson than a simple writing 101. I do hope this did well, though, and if you did enjoy, please drop a like on the stream. It really does help me out, and it lets more people discover these amazing lessons. So I will be back tomorrow with 2 things. I would like to be back tomorrow with 2 things, not just 1 thing, but 2 things. And they will both be they will be like awesome stuff. They fucking an audition guide for if you're wanting to audition for FSP, and also I think it's a scary game. What am I doing tomorrow? Incubus judges your sins. Incubus judges your sins. So I'll be judging sins, and I'll be doing. I might move those around actually. I might shuffle those around. I might swap Incubus judges your sins and the mortuary as assistant. I might do that. I'll probably do that. I think I'll do that. Anyway, I'm gonna do a thing. Anyway. Until then. All right. I will be back soon. Much love. Until the next. Goodbye, my sweet Netherlings. Mwah. Bye-bye for now.